Hello there, lads and ladies. Welcome back finally to another review of a book. Today we are doing the ill-awaited and non-announced, basically, Godzilla Aftershock comic. Now, with the Godzilla Aftershock comic, this is basically a comic that is based around the prequel of Godzilla versus the Monster Zero fight with Mothra and Rodan. That's the King of the Monsters, the prequel to the King of the Monsters, basically. So basically what is covered in this book is the beginnings of the 11th century before Christ, of how the Mutos came into being, basically. And it starts off with the story of Dagon, who was basically a much larger version to Godzilla. Probably even, I believe the actual size differences is a little bit different. Because I think in 2014 they're roughly the same size. I think Godzilla is just a little bit taller, but he's stockier. Compared to 2019, where he's much more bigger than Dagon. Although this was like way back in the past, like 11 BC, where it gives kind of like a nice little tale, like it's narrated in a story, like in a story type of narration, where it basically explains how Dagon was like the savior of this tribe of ancient people in Japan's like time, and how it came to fight this creature known as the Unclean One. They called it the Unclean One because it had a stench like a beetle, hence why they called it the Jinchimushi, which I believe was Japanese for dragon beetle or something like that, which was, it kind of fits it, although it has the metamorphosis capabilities of certain beetle species, although it has like the ironic thing of eating its partner, or it has like a cannibalistic tendency, kind of like what a praying mantis does. Also, if you're concerned with the lighting, I can only apologise. I actually have a blown light at the moment. I will be changing that. It's quite late out. Now I can only apologise for today for being so late, because I had to go out, do some things. I had to get my bicycle repaired, but for some reason they said they couldn't repair it because I had to book in, which was kind of a surprise. So I'm actually going to take my bike down to an old mate of mine who has a grandfather who focuses mostly on like Yaldi bikes, but maybe he can actually do an off-road bike for me. Like he could do my bike. It's kind of a dirt bike meshed with a road bike, basically. I mean, it's a road bike, but it has off-road tyres, basically. So hopefully he's got the equipment to fix it, because I'm not waiting like 2 months so Halford can sort out my bike for me. That's just an absolute piss take. Anyway, enough of that. Here to talk about the story. You might not be able to see this, but I actually like the... No, you can't see that, actually. I need to turn on... Oh, no, I don't have a flashlight. Fuck. Oh, well. It's basically... If I could describe it, it's basically kind of chalk-drawn pictures of Dagon in the ocean, basically. It looks really lovely. Anyway, onto the story. The issue with Emma Russell in this story, if you don't know who Emma Russell is, she's basically the scientist from the second film of King of the Monsters, who is the ex-wife of Mark Russell. And I will go into depth on Mark Russell and his tragic loss of his son, and his estranged, his estrangeness from his daughter, in the next volume, in the next novelization of King of the Monsters. It's just I don't want to give too much away, basically, so that way you guys got something interesting to look forward to. But yes, Emma Russell has basically been tasked to deal with a certain issue of the Jinchimushi and how to combat it. And she is trying to keep Godzilla alive throughout most of this, basically, or at least trying to keep the government off of Godzilla, basically, because as governments tend to do, like military and all that, they tend to just blow anything up if it causes any small doubt of a threat or something like that. So she has to come up with an idea of how to pull the Muto to the surface, basically, in order for Godzilla to be able to have somewhat of a fair fight. This is kind of where the orca comes in, basically, which was used in King of the Monsters, which basically she was able to extract an alpha core from said humans and Godzilla and mesh it together to create something that can communicate with the kaijus, basically. Although that doesn't come until later in the book, after she fails miserably after trying to get this poor DJ to get like this music going, so loud enough so that the reverberations can be heard under the ground to bring the Muto up to the surface. And it makes it become more aggressive, basically, to a certain degree. There are small instances of combats between Godzilla and the Jinshimushi, or the Muto Prime. The interesting thing with the conflicts is that most of the time it's a very elusive kaiju, the Muto Prime, because obviously it's quite in a weakened state. The reason why the Prime was brought up to the surface was to lay the eggs of the female and male Muto. And the interesting thing with the male and female Muto in the 2014 the film, after he killed them, the Prime was then brought up afterwards to try and keep the Mutos alive, basically. And the way it was able to do that was by impregnating the Godzilla species, or the Gojira species, with two sacs, well, ovaries, which housed the male and female. And it even explains in the book through the narration, it goes to and fro from 11th BC to modern day 2014. And in the narration, it tells of the epic battle between the Jinshinmushi and Dagon, which unfortunately Dagon does end up losing, unfortunately. And it gets impregnated by the Jinshinmushi, but doesn't die. It kind of like shows off how the people are very scared and wary for Dagon. Like, they just wish for him to be alive, since he's been their saviour for centuries upon centuries. And with all their praying and all their care for the kaiju, it does open its eyes, it does get up, it does walk back out into the ocean. But unfortunately, like, with the eggs inside of it, it's a parasitic type kaiju, so what happens is that Dagon will slowly die from the eggs, basically taking the radiation from Dagon, creating that perfect incubation for the eggs. So it's kind of like that mesh between a beetle, a dragon, and a parasite for some strange reason. So it's a bio-natural, it's like a bio-natural kaiju, which was similar to Biolante, but Biolante was man-made, whilst the Jinshinmushi was more of the natural order, but it's not natural order, if that makes any sort of sense. There are some parasites which can like infect animals to a degree that it actually creates like this zombivoid version of themselves, kind of like what cordyceps does. Like, it's like a fungus that can affect ants. Imagine if something like cordyceps could be used on humans, like if it mutated to the point where it could infect humans, we could actually have like the first batch of zombies like infecting humans. Now, wouldn't that be scary? It's kind of like with the whole COVID situation, really, how it's gone through constant mutations. Like, there's a Delta version, pretty soon we'll be going from Echo all the way down the frickin' Z, basically. It's just completely silly how this thing can mutate so fast. But that's the interesting thing with evolution, really, how you're meant to adapt throughout the times of like strife and so on and so forth. Only through strife can we really tell how strong we are as a species, really. In humans, we tend to destroy ourselves before anything else can, really. So, the combat between Godzilla in modern day times and the modern day Jinshinmushi kind of goes to and fro. Like, the Muto like is more evasive until it's able to like eat a couple of Russian subs, which gives it the radiation eligible to fight Godzilla at that time. There was even a bit under the water where the Prime is still not strong enough, although technically after like eating one or two subs, it technically was strong enough, but it could not like use its special abilities to be able to overpower Godzilla in the water. So either way, Godzilla is still one of the strongest kaiju to handle like water. Basically, it's like one of the strongest kaiju that can fight in the water. Apart from Tiamat, I will talk about Tiamat, but not until I do the third book. Well, when I do Godzilla Dominion, basically. Godzilla Dominion is basically the sequel to King of the Monsters, where it kind of goes over the other kaijus and their like helpfulness when it comes to environmental causes, and it does go over Tiamat. And there's a small bit at the end where it kind of shows you a picture of what Tiamat could look like, but in like a real setting. But I will go over that when I get the opportunity. So anyway, Emma, if I can explain Emma Russell, she's kind of like that condescending, know-it-all type person. Like, yes, she's intelligent, but she kind of like uses like the intelligence of herself to basically like put herself forward before anyone else. Basically, like her research is be all and end all. Basically, this is why I didn't really like her in King of the Monsters, because, well, one, she was literally willing to allow kaijus to wake up and destroy most of the earth to then reinvigorate it. But the problem is, by doing that, is that you will lose countless of billions of lives, especially when you had something like Monster Zero coming onto the scene that just completely woke up every single kaiju to destroy the world, basically. Like, the whole point behind Monster Zero for King Ghidorah was that he was trying to prove himself to his species. He was one of the weaker versions of Monster Zero, basically. He was the weaker Ghidorah compared to the rest of his family. So he had a point to prove to destroy Earth, no matter if it ended up being like a better planet afterwards, or it became worse, basically. So Emma kind of is like pig-headed when it comes to stuff like that. There's even a scene where her like her protectional guard from Monarch, like who's been sent to protect her, kind of has to go down into a chasm with her to make sure that she doesn't go too far, which she does. Like, there's a chasm that is completely collapsing on itself because the Muto Prime is crawling through the area and it's causing seismic activity. Like, the rocks nearly kill her because she's trying to go deeper and deeper to like find something particularly, and he has to pull her out. And she's kicking and screaming, and she ends up tossing the helmet at him when they get up to the surface and saying, "Don't you dare undermine me and my research again." And here I'm thinking to myself, woman, if you're dead, you can't use your research to counteract the kaijus. So either you think with your head, or you're going to get it like smashed off by a bunch of rocks falling on your head. She can't be that stupid. But then, I'm sorry, I just don't like the character. That's just my biased opinion of her, basically, because I don't like her in the film and I don't like her in the book, basically. But she does. I'm kind of talking about King of the Monsters more than I am of Aftershock, but there's this like bit at the end. Like, I'm not going to spoil it too much. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it. But most people that would watch this are more than likely kaiju fans, and you've probably already seen it. So sorry, I might as well tell you, because she sacrifices herself to pull King Ghidorah away from Godzilla so he can get up and then like smash some shit on Ghidorah, basically. An awful lot of people say, oh no, she's redeemed herself for that. Has she really? Like, she single-handedly caused quite a few casualties in an awful lot of areas around the world because of allowing like King Ghidorah to wake up, and then allowing King Ghidorah to wake the other kaijus up, thus creating destruction and the world they live in now, basically. So she single-handedly is the reason why we have a monsterverse, basically. I mean, I have to thank her for that. But of course, the true thanks go to the lovely directors and story writers that wanted to bring Godzilla back in a more modern format, which I'm always thankful, and I'm always thankful towards Legendary for allowing to take that on. And it's also good timing as well because of the Godzilla TV series that will be coming on Apple Plus. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to look into that, because I feel like they need to do like a live action fight scene between Jinchimushi and Godzilla, because I feel like that's part of canon. You can't erase that. You need to have that in the actual live TV series, and then you can focus on the other kaiju. But I think it's going to mostly focus on the human side of things. But anyway, I'm trying to get through Aftershock, and I'm talking about other things. I'm sorry, I just love everything kaiju and everything Godzilla, so I just go off on a like another thing, basically. It's like I've got ADHD. I like go from one thing to another. I'm sorry about that. So After the failure of using the music to try and bring the Muto to the surface, they have to go to the government, say to them, like, we need to try something to stop the Muto from more than likely killing Godzilla and thus creating more Mutos that could destroy the world. They don't buy it, they just think, oh, let them fight, the winner will just kill afterwards, basically, just pure ignorance at the end of the day. And there's a person who's been assigned to her who is meant to, like, record keep her and, like, get back to the government on, like, what she's like as a person. And he does say how egotistical she is and very condescending and all that, but he does say, like, if there's any scientist that could do this, that could, like, create something to assist with the kaiju issue we have, it's Emma Russell. They're kind of taking an awful lot of like, stuck away from Mark Russell, because I feel like he was the one responsible for creating the Orca. Like, he had the blueprints, she just worked off of it. But again, like, you can't, like, knock the other helps of, like, Serizawa and Dr. Ling and all that, basically, because they were there as well. It was nice to see Serizawa in this as well, how he kind of gives, like, his nice little quotes and comments, like, in the background. He's not much of a foreground character in this, which is kind of a shame, because I'd like to hear more from him. It was mostly focused on Emma Russell, and what's funny as well, the bodyguard who's protecting her is called Tarkin, not Tarkin, Tarkan, which was kind of a weird name when I heard it the first time. I thought to myself, hang on, is this Tarkin from Star Wars, like the evil right hand man to Lord Vader or something like that? Because that was kind of interesting, really, because I honestly thought, oh good god, what a weird name to have. I just thought of Star Wars when I was doing that. I'm also doing a thing at the moment where I'm actually watching the entire Clone Wars series, like the animated series again, from season 1 to season 7, because it's very good. I absolutely love the Clone Wars, mostly due to the different personalities and different mindsets that the clones go through, how they can all be the same person, but their personalities are so vast and so different. It's such good storytelling to just watch them, like, fight with each other and, like, fight against the Empire, to unfortunately fall into Order 66, which was quite interesting. Sorry, I keep going off to other subjects. I'm so sorry. I'm just so, like, hyped up for so many different things this month, because an awful lot of things will be happening. Like, I've got rugby, I've got, like, to get through an awful lot of Clone Wars stuff. I've got some books I need to review for you guys. So it's a nice month. It's a good month as well. And it was my birthday recently as well. So, yay me. So I'm definitely happy. I'm a happy boy this month. So to end off with this book, it kind of ends in a big finale of the Muto Prime being at his strongest, where he's able to, like, punch with the force of like 10 million double-decker buses, basically. And he has, like, a shockwave ability, which is able to completely shatter Godzilla's dorsal plates. Which, if you have watched the films 2014 and 2019, his dorsal plates are different. That was mostly due to the fact that some people didn't like the design of Godzilla, like with his dorsal plates and his atomic breath. So they kind of gave the excuse that because of the Muto's EMP, his radiation wasn't quite as strong or something like that, which I don't buy whatsoever. What does EMP have to do with, like, radiation? Because if that was the case, it wouldn't really affect anything, because he's not electric based. Like, if it was King Ghidorah, then I'd understand, because he's an electric based kaiju. So that would actually be quite an interesting fight, like putting the Muto Prime up against King Ghidorah. Oh, there's one for Goji Center. Oh yeah, Goji Center. Yeah, if you're listening, guys, if you want a nice, interesting, close fight, put Muto Prime up against King Ghidorah. That would be such an interesting little fight, because I feel like his EMP could definitely do some damage to Ghidorah to stop his superpowers being used. But then it would kind of be a moot point, because at the end of the finale of everything in this book, Emma Russell, like, sets off a sound which is similar to the humans in Godzilla or something like that, or, like, I can't remember what she uses. It's like some weird looking keyboard thing meshed with another device. Like, it's meant to be a joke, but it just looks fucking stupid. It looks like a small little toy keyboard meshed with something. Anyway, she turns it on full volume on the mic, and it distracts the Mushin enough so that Godzilla can basically dig in under the Muto, and then sent out a blast wave off its back and send the Muto up in the air, so then it falls down, comes crashing down, and it's so winded it can't get up. So Godzilla is able to have enough time to come over and stamp on the beast's head. And gives a nice little victory roar towards the camera, well, towards the page for you and me, basically. And Emma Russell basically just looks at it as he looks back at her, as kind of an insignatory like nod or a thank you to her and the group for trying to help out, basically. So, yeah, I kind of like understand why they had to change the dorsal plates and the atomic breath, because easily in the second film, like in 2019, he's got a stronger breath, like which looks more luminescent blue, and his dorsal plates look much more intense and ferocious, like how they look shattered and broken and grown in certain places, but there's more of an luminescent blue. I do like how they actually kept the thing where he charges up, from like how it charges up from its tail and goes all the way to his head, and then you see his breath come out of his throat, how it makes that noise when it goes like, and then it builds up into the actual breath. So it kind of gives you like that like climactic feeling, like, oh god, he's gonna do it, you know. So it's more interesting to see like if it's in the cinema or like if you're watching it, basically. But on comics, it only looks beautiful when like it looks very luminescent blue, basically. It kind of looks like a mesh. It looks like a mesh between like the deepest of beautiful blue seawater with a little bit of electricity. I don't know what it is. It just looks so gorgeous. And I believe that's something what the Muto was fascinated with Godzilla, because Godzilla is the perfect incubating like kaiju for the Muto, because of the radiation that Godzilla houses within its system. And that's the interesting thing about it, really. If I could show you what the keyboard looks like. Yeah, I don't think you can see it. It's that. It's like a whale keyboard type thing. I don't know who on earth designed that, but that just looks so stupid. But it's funny. I just find it funny, really. Also, there was a little section where it covered Alan Jonah, who was the mercenary that captured Emma Russell in King of the Monsters. I will talk about him when I go over the novelization of King of the Monsters. Excuse me. It might not be next week or the week after, because I'm going to hopefully try and finish Konohana Kitanov, or at least get through a tattoo story time. But after that, I will go through King of the Monsters, because I want to do it in order. I want to do King of the Monsters, and then or maybe Kingdom Kong, because that is a very interesting one, because of a simple kaiju in that, which looks really freaking good, which could be like an arch nemesis of Mothra, but they decided to like bring him out to face Kong. I'm kind of hoping that they like do like a revisit to Camazotz, because he is an interesting kaiju, and I'll talk about him more when I get to that book. And also Alan Jonah, he is a very interesting character, played by Charles Dance in the film of King of the Monsters. Perfect actor for such a very like suave villain. I believe he was meant to be playing. Was he? I think he was British. I think he was a British SAS officer, or I can't remember if they made him a Kiwi or not in that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think he was a British officer in that, turned mercenary. Yeah, British SAS turned mercenary. That's right. So he's British. I'm just trying to remember. My brain is fried, basically. I can't really remember that far back with that film, but I'll have to research both again, because it's been a while since I last watched King of the Monsters. And I also got to do the novelization, so that'll be interesting to cover. But that was Godzilla Aftershock. If you enjoyed, I very much appreciate it if you go and pick up this book and become a Monsterverse fan or a Godzilla fan, because my god, it is so lovely to watch monsters just beat the living crap out of each other. Not so much the human interaction. I'm kind of hoping that doesn't happen with the Apple series that will be coming around the corner soon. I think with the Netflix series, they're also going to be focusing on Kong more. But I think for the Apple series, it's mostly going to be based around the people. I feel like once they just ditch the human idea, like the human concept, and just focus more on the kaiju, like a documentary version, it would be so much better. Like, it would be so much better easily. But yeah, that is Godzilla Aftershock. And yeah, I will cover the rest when I get the opportunity. But for now, I can only apologise for being so late and for the lighting. I will fix that by next time. So thank you all ever so much, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, my friends.